Welcome back, many thanks for joining us. It's a delight again to be right in your face, but this is not Souk business landscape. It is just Africa. Many thanks for joining us. Now, across Africa, a new generation of young professionals is breaking traditional boundaries, turning skills, knowledge, and creativity beyond the primary careers into new streams of wealth, from the academic venturing into tech startups, engineers building fashion brands, to doctors operating health tech solutions. These multi-skilled professionals are redefining how wealth is created in the society on the continent. And today on the program, we'll explore how Africa's young professionals are creating wealth beyond their fields, their primary fields, the opportunities, the challenges, and what it means for businesses, the economy, and the development across the continent. Olumide, welcome to the program.
Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are watching us. I'm Olumide Shukri, and welcome to Just Africa. I like this particular topic because we grew up, well, I wouldn't blame our parents. They just wanted the best for us. At a certain point in time, you either had to be a lawyer, a doctor, or an architect. That was what our parents wanted.
An engineer.
Or an engineer. And it is believed that you would go to school, you would graduate, and you will be gainfully employed. So that idea of wanting to start a business was not then familiar to the African society, but thank God for innovations, thank God for problem solving. We've seen, people come up with different ideas and build business. At a point in time, you had to just go to the bank and send money and receive money. But someone thought of, why can't we have, ATMs, from ATMs to POS machines and, the list is apps. So now we have people who are gainfully employed but still have other businesses. They're entrepreneurs. So you can decide to be a blue-collar worker and still be an entrepreneur. We've seen whereby consultants in government or federal healthcare facilities have their own clinics.
Yes.
We've seen whereby bankers have their own little financial institutions, POS, and the rest of them. So it's not far-fetched that you must just have one particular job. The goal is to have different source of income to attain your own type of financial freedom. So while it is actually good, I've seen, during my NYSC, I met someone who was working in a bank and he studied chemistry.
Yeah,
he had a bit of a pharmacy, but he was a banker. So he was a banker by day, a pharmacist by night. So we've seen that, and it doesn't mean that because you should be confined to a particular sector, confined to a particular environment, you can diversify.
Great. Diversification. Nations have been preaching that word, but now it has gone beyond nations looking into the word diversification. Humans, in fact, organization have gone into that word I don't want to call it multi-dimensional, I have to call it multi-professional way of working. Now, diversifying entails going beyond the formal profession to generating income, build enterprises, and drive innovation. Now, it reflects a shift in the continent's economic realities where job scarcity, entrepreneurial spirit, and the digital connectivity have pushed professionals on the continent of Africa to become creators of wealth rather than job seekers alone. Now, it's about the cross-disciplinary innovation and the rise of the multi-professional entrepreneur. In fact, Olumide was talking about a banker or a pharmacist turned banker, and now a banker is now running both a pharmacy. We've seen people who studied Yoruba in the university and ended up working in the bank and ended up as the bank branch managers. We've seen people who studied zoology in school ended up become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Who cannot say zoologists cannot be effective politicians? Well, the conversation is going to be without borders. Without borders, we're going to every other aspect. This is Just Africa, where I reach you live from our studios at Souqnews TV. We'll go on a break. When we're back, we'll have our guests join us on the program. Do not go anywhere. Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the program. Now, joining us on the program today is a prominent person, Faith Ayotunde Ogunshina. He is a dynamic Nigerian academic and entrepreneur. She, rather, is a lecturer in the Department of Biochemistry at Ladoke Akintola University of Technology. I beg your pardon, where he teaches and conduct research in the life sciences. Beyond academia, he is the director of Yoda Creative, a forward-looking creative agency that delivers innovative branding, media, and communication solutions. His career reflects the growing trend of Africa's young professionals leveraging their expertise across multiple fields to create wealth, impact, and opportunities. Is passionate about youth empowerment and cross-disciplinary innovation. He also embodies the spirit of Africa's next generation of wealth creators. Faith Ayotunde Ogunshina, you are welcome to Just Africa.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here this afternoon.
Great. It's good to have you on the program. Now, we are talking about multi-professionalism, if there's a word like that. Multiple way of living and doing business. In fact, some people, from the introduction of my colleague about the topic of conversation, he was referring to it still as something that's sort of a new trend in the continent of Africa. Gone are the days where our parents used to just focus on one and they just continue. What happened? What called for the transformation?
Well, there's been shift in, like you said, there's a cultural shift trend happening with we young people, the millennials, the Gen Z these days. And we've learned from our parents that you need multiple income streams. And also, we discovered that mostly when most of our parents are reaching retirement stage, that's when they really want to do something they love, something they would have loved to explore and try. So there are so many reasons that that could have accounted for people being in a multi-dimensional profession, industry that do not really that do not correlate. So another thing is some might have been doing something before they got the employment, and I just try to hold on to it. And also for some of us, it's just to explore our creative side. Aside being in the classroom, being in the laboratory, I've been doing this for close to a decade now. So if it continues, if I'm able to organize and manage myself very well with it. So I believe that some other young folks also share the sentiment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gunshina Faith. But is it that there's one other aspect we've not actually looked at? Well, it wasn't motivated by the economic realities of life where salaries are just too small, the take-home salaries are too small to take you home? Or is it that in Nigeria and in most African countries, when you look at the education industry, people want to go to university to study their course of choice, but maybe JAM kept jamming them in Nigeria, or the JAM the JAM counterpart in Kenya or in Ghana kept hitting students, so they just took up any course and get into the university. After graduation, they just need an education to be the launching pad of their desire for profession.
Okay. There is no one straight answer to this point that you raised. Um, most for so the first stage, so some people were young when they got admission, and the truth is that our exposure level determines our purpose in life. For instance, a student from Nigeria will not dream of becoming an hockey player, but because that's what is not exposed to that kind of life. So growing up, knowing, having more exposure, relating with people of so many facets of life, some people catch their exposure, their purpose in life that I can also do this, I can also become this. That's one. Secondly, is that some parents choose, they've already planned the direction of life for their children. And for instance, one of my uncle was telling me his colleague who studied medicine and is now working as an auditor in a multinational firm. He studied medicine, spent 7 years, but that because that was what the parents wanted for him. So there are many faces to it. Another thing that we can shy away from is the economic reality of Africa. Uh, the wages and remuneration rate is not really meeting up with the standard, with the level of inflation and standard of living. So that has forced so many people into multiple jobs. The best way this might have worked for those people in that case is to be in, to still be in the industry, discipline within the industry, and find the business in their profession. But we see that it's sometimes hard to do that. All right, to set up a life science research laboratory is going to be very expensive. And most professors here, even universities are underfunded when it comes to research labs. And people just have to, go into some other things so that they can augment for the shortage of income from their employment. So there's no one clear-cut answer to it. Some they love it, it's passion. Some is family background, family issue, and to some they just have to know. And so we can look at it from various angles. But it's for the development of Africa, whichever way it is.
Thank you very much. So I have two questions. The first question is, I want to talk about diversification. Do you think this shift is driven more by necessity, maybe by trying to attain financial freedom, peer pressure, or opportunity, or global influence? Now, second question. Professional success meant at a point climbing in a particular field. So do you see a situation whereby if people are diversifying, they might lose that professionalism in one particular field?
So the first question, thank you very much. The first question talking about necessity. Yes, necessity is one of the factors that force people into multidisciplinary field, but that is not the sole reason. We When it comes to the issue of funding or doing two things, when it comes to the issue of having two business professions, there's the issue of funding, and some businesses at the basic entry level are easier than for some. So we can actually say that it's out of necessity, and some people just find it fashionable. Ideally, for someone like me who is a biochemist, if you are referred as probably as you own a research lab, a computation analysis lab, or going to something else. But I've been doing this for quite a while since my undergraduate days, and even after becoming an academician, I choose to continue the business. And also, talking about it affecting each other, the human mind is dynamic, and if proper planning is not if proper planning is not done, that one is going to affect one. Attaining professional level in one career, attaining excellence in creativity in business or what have you, if the right thing is not constituted, it's going to affect each other. But putting the right things, structure in place. For instance, one of the things I've done for my own business is that I've I've outsourced the human resource of the business um, to a consultancy agency. So I don't have to think about tax payments, who comes to work, who does not come to work. Some people take care of that for me. My sole purpose is just marketing brand identity. When it comes to operation, the staff are doing, I have staff people and doing that very well. So mine is just quality assurance and making that we deliver top-notch quality. And in fact, I'm concluding my I'm still in the middle of my PhD, and it's a very enormous task. And if I've not strategized, they will have been affecting each other. So if proper clear planning is not done, I've been in two industries. You have to forgo one for one. But if one is determined that as you are building this, you also must make sure this is reality. It's going to tell on you. It will be stressful. But I believe it's possible because of the flexibility, the dynamism of the human mind and capability.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Mr. Faith, let's talk about the monetary aspect of it. Do you think, first of all, the Nigerian informal economy or the informal economy in the African setting constitutes about 80% of the employment market, in the sense that the informal economy provides about 80% of employment across Africa. And sometimes this informal economy is not well captured when we start talking about the macroeconomic dynamics, and we're talking about business, economy, and development of each country in the continent of Africa. Do you think this professional diversification or career diversification, as the case may be, has worked well? Is it for good, or does it have its own lapses?
All right. Yes, the informal markets uh, are not, well, in context, we can say that they are not well captured because various informal industry have associations whereby members belong to. And for those that are not in those associations, there are some businesses who are registered with the government, using Nigeria as a case study, with the Corporate Commission as well. So it also about Nigeria economy is largely informal and it's very well captured. And I think the government are further reinforcing their efforts in making sure that the informal market is well captured. The reforms that is coming to the tax policy, if well implemented, is going to capture everybody in very well into that market. But for some other countries, probably the government of the country have to devise means to make sure that everybody is well captured. And we need to synchronize our data very well in Nigeria because those are things, the disparity in data, various database is part of the means whereby people are evading being captured into the government database. But in my opinion, the informal sector are being captured and taxes are being paid indirectly on whatever is happening in those sectors.
Would you advise students either in secondary school or in the university, tertiary institutions, to own businesses? Or do we make business management a compulsory subject in secondary schools?
Well, the truth of the matter is that the dysfunction in our systems has led to certain innovation. If we are being sincere, the students should focus on his or academics. But when as a student you think that what is the hope for me in my current discipline, you start making plans for yourself. What do I want to do in my life? For instance, most of my colleagues that we graduated together, less than 1% of us are doing what is related with our course of study. And that's not only peculiar to biochemistry. It's happening in other fields. So each field has their business. Each field has the skill set. But are we doing justice to teach those disciplines very well? ASU are now crying out that they are taking tax action because of the 2009 agreement, 16 years ago, federal government agreement. So we are not posturing as a country that wants professionals. One of my cousins, who is a law student in school, he came back from one of the federal university and he said he wants to go and learn tailoring or something. I told him, I said, no. Even though it's part of what I do in my business, I could have absorbed him. I said, no. Let's go to a law firm and go and do internship with them as a 200 level student. You will get something. You are going to know the business of the law profession. Don't, if afterwards you graduated from law school and nothing that you want to do tailoring, no problem. But for now, make sure that you, so I don't advise students to, for those who are doing it, they should find a way to manage it so that it doesn't affect the academics and they graduate with good grades. And for those who have not, they should take their studies. If we have a good system, we won't be talking about entrepreneurs. We want to turn basically everybody into entrepreneurship. I have a medical student who is a graphic designer. In a country whereby the medical doctors are being well remunerated, this student should be thinking about innovation. And whoever wants to be a graphic designer should not that of necessity, but of passion. So the disruption in our system has also brought about innovation, which is a win-win for we young people because at least we are trying to get back really. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Now, there's a big difference between earning something for yourself, earning money, and creating wealth. So my question is, how can young professionals move from side hustles to building sustainable wealth and enterprises?
Come again.
All right, I said there's a difference between earning money and creating wealth. So how can young professionals, how can they move from side hustles to creating or building sustainable wealth and enterprises?
All right. So building wealth is a long-term game. It's not a short-term. But you need to earn to build wealth. And part of the building wealth is about investing in the right portfolio and diversification. If you are earning good either from your profession or from your business, one of the ways one can build wealth is investing in stock, buying government bonds, investing in real estate, good area, good catchment area. It's not buying land in one forest and expecting that it will grow in. So having the right property, having the right financial instruments is about having a strategy. What I'm making, how much am I putting in place? There's something called compounding effect. So building wealth is not something that happens overnight. It's a long-term game. It's a game of 10, 15, 20, 40 years. So not just earning. The young professional needs to shut the door of trying to be among, trying to impress people. It's about having a long-term goal. Some young people now have the addition of updating their phone every year, even if they have to go to the bank or do as much as borrow to do that. Someone to drive impressionable cars. Why not having emergency funds? So building wealth is a long-term game, but you need to earn to build wealth. So after you've earned, what you do afterwards with those money will now determine if you are building wealth or you are just living the moment and just flowing with the vibe.
There's this trend whereby people, young entrepreneurs or young professionals, they just exit their job because they want to start a new job. So my question is, would you advise for young upcoming entrepreneurs to leave their blue collar work and go into personal or side hustles, or how can they maintain the two? Would you advise them to leave one for the other or maintain the two?
Well, the thing is at a point, the side hustle will have to become the main hustle because it's about having safety net. Business is very brutal, and nobody will pardon you, have mercy on you for your mistakes and excesses. So why most people do multiple jobs is to have to give them the kind of safety net while building so that whatever goes wrong does not really impact them negatively. But if you've done your side hustle for about 3-4 years and it's giving you good income, if it's really such person, they might decide to quit their day-to-day job and focus on their business very well. If your business is giving you about 5 million naira, 1 million to 5 million naira monthly, and you are earning about 200,000 where you are working, my advice would be that focus 100% of your energy on that business. If it is doing enough, then it can give you more. And people stay in jobs for various reasons. Some for personal glorification, some for political visibility, some for societal recognition. Some people might not want to leave their job. So it depends on the preferences of each person. So people leaving their white collar job to focus and build their startup is very advisable if the startup is doing wonderfully well.
Thank you very much. Now, I know we're due for a break, but before we go on that break, I need you to, attend to this question. You spoke about you when you were in school doing biochemistry, but you were equally doing something else for which it looks like that's what you're focusing on now. But I'll need you to clarify that if I'm getting it properly or not. What I'm trying to point your attention is this. When I was in school, what I'm doing today was what I was doing in school. But that was not my course of study. I was studying public administration. And for about 3 years or 4 years, I was in the press club. Most students that I know, they were running businesses while they were in school. Some of them would go to the bakery as early as 6 a.m. in the morning. They're having 7 a.m. class to go buy bread, distribute to their clients before running down to class. Other students were into graphic design, others were into photography, and today they own studios. Some of them were studying political science. Some other students who were studying agricultural engineering in school, they were busy practicing student politics in school. And today, they are full-time politicians. So, do you see, is it necessary, or from these few explanations, that we should give or review the way we draw up our academic curriculum so that our academians can have a way of entrenching some of these core activities into extracurricular activities that can be allowed to take place in our tertiary institutions, so that students, while studying accounting in school, can also be running a business or into a productive venture that may end up being their line of career.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. What I'm saying, there's no one clear cut, one path to life, and I'm an advocate of personal development. But so anybody who chooses to do that, who chooses to, first of all, while I was in school, I was in many organizations in school too. The school they made availability for that. They allow NGOs, the press club, there's one for the journalists. There's so many associations like that in school that came on board that really help with personal development and public speaking, confidence and courage and the like. But like what is happening now, trying to make it into a curriculum is as a result of dysfunction in the society. That's my point. I've been doing this as a student also, but it was from a personal choice. It was not made compulsory. Probably they were going to incorporate that can happen as an elective. So students who are interested can go into such entrepreneurship course and take them, but should not be made into a gradable course, because someone studying medicine, why will you create into the curriculum for that person to learn graphic design or something? So that's the point at which I'm coming from. Anybody that wants to do that on their own should, but should not be incorporated into the curriculum as a course.
All right, so I'd like to ask again, what role does financial literacy and smart investment, what role does it play in entrepreneurship?
Financial literacy plays an important role, not only in student-brain businesses, even in professional, because it makes planning very easy. If you know what is coming in, what is going out, what are the excesses that you don't need, the loopholes that you are spending on, how to invest your money properly, how to recognize a working business, Ponzi scheme, and the like. those are the basis of building wealth. So financial literacy cannot be overemphasized. It's very important it's a very important topic that I think everybody should know about.
Another question I would like to ask is when people decide to diversify, they don't take cognizance of networks and mentorship. And network, they say, is your network. So how can young professionals or people who want to diversify, how can they make use of networks, mentorships, and even collaborations?
Thank you for raising that topic. Network is very important, and mentorship, because it helps you to avoid the pit that someone else, the thing that someone else have gone into. And during mentorship, you can be exposed to a whole lot of another market, and things that it's going to take you years to achieve, you can achieve in a short possible time. And if you see people who are really doing well in businesses, why they say that your network is your network is because it's a kind of leverage, an advantage for the professional. If there's a recommendation for a job and you're a mentor, that's someone who is a big lead in your industry, the person can easily pick you up for that position. Even though you have one position, the person can be your voice in the other room. Mostly businesses are through human relations, through my interaction. Oh, I know somebody who can do this. There can be recommendation for that. And the mentality of trying to travel solo has eroded us the benefits that come from mentorship. I tell people, we want to start with them, go and work in a place for about 2 years where you do what you want to start. You want to start a business, you learn on the job, you learn the rope of the job, you learn the business of the job, and your starting point should not be from zero. It should be from wherever you've internship or you've done your apprenticeship or something.
We have been speaking to Faith Ayotunde Ogunshina. We are not letting him off the hook yet. We're going to break. When we come back, Faith Ayotunde will still be here to answer a few questions as the show proceeds. Do stay with us.
Some people hear the sound of wood being cut and they think stress, dust, wahala. They say, I beg, who won't suffer with saw and hammer? To them, woodworking is messy, tiring, and just not worth the trouble. But others, they see something else. They see polished tables, handcrafted shelves, stylish tools. They see beauty, value, and serious money. Because yes, cutting wood may be tough, but the hustle can turn into pure profit. My name is Grace Komolafe. Welcome to Cash Craft, where we show you how every skills can become money-making ventures. Today, we are talking woodworking, from basic tools to beautiful designs, and how to turn timber into treasure. Now, let's cut into it. Step 1. Pick your project. Before you saw your first board, ask yourself, what do you want to build? Furniture, shelves, decorative wall panels, or maybe customized kitchen boards. Start small. A simple stool or bookshelf can teach you the basics and still fetch good money. Let's move to step 2. Tools, timber, and a plan. You don't need a massive workshop to start. Basic tools like a measuring tape, hand saw, drill, clamps, and sandpaper will do. Choose durable wood like teak, mahogany, or poplar for long-lasting products. And don't forget the blueprints. Sketch a project or download free woodworking plans online. A clear-cut list saves you time, wood, and costly mistakes. Let's move to step 3. Cut, build, finish. Measure twice, cut once. That's the golden rule. Then assemble carefully. Use wood glue and screws for strong joints. Once it's built, sand smooth and apply a finished varnished wax or paint to protect and beautify. That rustic table or wine rack, it just went from workshop to showroom. Let's move ahead. Step 4. Sell like a pro. Now the magic part is turning your craft into cash. Who is your customer? Young couples, urban decorators, cafe owners. They love custom, handmade, and unique. Use social media to showcase your work. Instagram, Pinterest, and all of that are gold mines for visibility. You can add pricing, yes, delivery info, and behind-the-scene videos. Look, that's a great catch. You need to let people see your videos where you are doing your work uniquely. That's an addition and validation. Now, want more reach? Yes, attend fairs, pop-up shops, or sell via platforms that you know. A whole lot of them are out there. Let's move to step 5. Stand out to scale. Offer engraving, custom size, or eco-friendly finishes. Don't just sell a table, sell a story. Yes, you can see the emphasis. Sell a story, handcrafted in Ibadan or upcycled from reclaimed wood. People pay more when the product means more. Network with interior decorators, real estate agents, and even planners. Your one shelf may become a hotel's full order. But of course, no business is all smooth wood. Power issues could happen, tool costs, and inconsistent wood supply can slow you down. Still, with skills, strategy, and smart marketing, woodworking can take you from small workshop to a big warehouse. So here is your takeaway. And don't forget to do your proper research, because this is only a heads up, a wake-up call that you can do it. Woodworking is not just craftsmanship, it's cashmanship. It's a business of creativity, precision, and pride. Whether you are making one stool a week or outfitting full apartments, this is a hustle that builds literally. This has been Cashcraft, and I am Grace Komolafe, reminding you that if life gives you timber, turn it into treasure. Until next time, build bold, build smart.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the program. We've been having conversation with Faith Ayotunde Ogunshina. He is a dynamic Nigerian academic and entrepreneur. He is a lecturer in one of Nigeria's universities, LAUTECH. Welcome once again to the program, Faith Ogunshina. Are you there? Yes, sir. Okay, so now you studied biochemistry in the university, and it's like you're currently teaching biochemistry, but you established Yoda Creative Company, which is into branding and production. What inspired that? And how do you get inspired by doing that? In fact, your deviation was quite wide.
So come again.
You studied biochemistry in school, but you run a company that is into creativity, branding, and production. I mean, what inspired your move into creativity and branding production?
All right, thank you. Well, during the first section, I was saying how dynamic the human mind is, and the level of creativity that happens in the mind. So what inspired me to go into a production and branding business? But there was a time in the country whereby some outfits were being produced, and I didn't like the feel, the text on them. They're saying something, putting some nude text on clothes. And as a believer, I'm a Christian, so I had passion for evangelism. I just thought I could make outfits. That was in 2015. I can make shirts, and I put scriptural verses of Bible-oriented stuff on it. So that was how I started. So I made some few ones, people loved it, and from there the business just kept going. It just kept going. So that was what really inspired me to start. That was the journey of the business. I saw something that I didn't like. When you want to buy shirts in the market, some vulgar language was printed on them. The society was not this sensitive then, so if people could wear anything like that has yarns, not to say some of those words. So that was the inspiration. And that was how the business started. So from there, the business starts growing, picking one form of production, adding to this, adding to that.
All right, thank you very much, Faith Additional. So, in rounding up, if young professionals, if they succeed in creating wealth beyond their field, what kind of Africa do you see in the next 20 years? And on the other hand, if we fail to harness this particular momentum, what are the risks?
The risk is, see the way I say, the risk is very enormous. Africa has the largest population of youth worldwide now. So I believe that we need to maximize this. Some countries are going into their workforce is going to extinction because of the population of their youth and the policies they've made in time past. And if we fail to maximize this, it will take us a long year. It might take us like about a century to get it back. This is the time for Africa to industrialize, and we need to do it properly. Our leaders at all levels need to put in policies that will further enable young creative, young entrepreneurs to channel their youthfulness to the creation of wealth in Africa. It's very risky. We are losing so many young people to Japa syndrome these days. And not only in Nigeria, throughout Africa, people are leaving their country, going to Europe, going to the United States, going to China. We are losing our strong workforce. And at the end of the day, we will continue to be a consumer economy if we fail to, if we miss this tide of having so many people come on board with their energetic intelligence to improve our production capacity.
Okay, thank you. Now, in rounding up, Mr. Faith Ogushina, now for what would you advise the government to do to promote the operations of the informal economy? And also, that also comes with your final thoughts to encourage people in multi-professional activities, like a lawyer running a fintech company, or like a doctor owning a restaurant and other enterprises.
Okay. One of the advice I'm going to give to someone that wants to run my final words on running a multi-business is please keep at it, because you are unknowingly creating employment for others, and we are helping lift people out of poverty. And my appeal to the government would be that they should create more bonds. There was a time during the administration of President Goodluck Jonathan, people do not have to know somebody to win you win grants, and it has helped a lot of businesses. In my place of work, some sets they had their reunion this Saturday, and I was opportune to represent the department. And someone was sharing testimony of how an alumni, the fund they got to bring President Jonathan regime was what established his business, and the business is doing well. That's what he and his family are feeding on, and they've created employment. They have about 15 staff in that business. So if there are grants for small business, the Tony Olumelu Foundation, they are doing well in that regard. Some other organizations are doing well. Business is hard on its own, and we can't really bootstrapping business is hard. It's not easy. So there's a need for grants, not even investment from venture capitalists now. There's a need for grants because we are talking about informal sector. There's a need for grants to come into this sector, grants that will be monitored properly. And if money does not want to be given to business people, there can be an asset grant. You can buy equipment, machinery for industries who needs them. Accessing loan from Bank of Industry is not a small feat. The requirements are very enormous for the informal sector. This is available for the formal sector. They are the one that can meet some of the requirements. So creating grants is what is very important. And finally, anyone in the multi-dimensional profession, creating business outside of their profession, please keep at it. Because either you like it or not, the pay that we are getting from one business is what most people use to start up and to fund the other businesses. And by so doing, you're also taking people out of poverty and creating employment for people. You're also contributing your own quota to national growth. It's not, there are routes that it won't be easy. There are routes that will be challenging. But just know that that's your own contribution to development of our continent and our country at large. Thank you very much.
So much, Faith Ayotunde Ogunshina, for your time with us today on Just Africa. We really appreciate your presence. Now, Faith Ayotunde Ogunshina is a dynamic Nigerian academic and entrepreneur. He's a lecturer in the Department of Biochemistry at Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, where he teaches and conducts research in life sciences beyond academia. He is the director of Yoda Creative, a forward-looking creative agency that delivers innovative branding, media, and communication solutions. Thank you so much for your time with us today on Just Africa.
It's an honor. Thank you for having me.
Much welcome. Now, Olumide,
yes,
I enjoyed this conversation because I want to make comparisons. You see Indians in Nigeria, they own some of the largest superstores, and you see the same Indian company that owns some of the largest superstores.
not just in Nigeria, even
yes,
in the United Kingdom.
Oh, of course. And you see that same company owning the dry cleaning outfit in the same community or in the same environment. Apart from the dry cleaning, then you see them own other chains of businesses.
Yes.
And sometimes I wonder, because that's exactly what we are talking about. I'm yet to see where at the community level you see some Nigerian businesses owning up to 5 or 6 different chains or kinds of businesses. Even though there are, but there's some there are quite few.
Yes, yes. There's this thing I heard once in the United Kingdom is that some of these people from Pakistan, India, they bring one person in. The person starts a particular job. He brings his brother in, puts him into another thing. Maybe he owns a supermarket. He brings his brother in. A brother owns a pharmacy. He brings another brother in. They own this, and before you know it, it's a conglomerate. We have that also in Nigeria. I think it's between the family or extended family, whereby the father owns a particular business, the uncle owns another particular business, the son owns another particular business in another field, and it's like a group of companies. We have families like that. We don't want to even mention them, but we have some families, popular, strong names in the industry that you know that once they mention this particular name, for instance, the Abiola family, they have chains of business. So I think, yes, they are delicates. So I think it's more of family orientation than families like that kind of thing. Family, it's more common in families who are business minded, and families who have someone who has actually broken that chain of like say lack of better word, poverty. They've broken that, they've climbed that success ladder, and they just don't want to destroy that ladder. They want to bring other people, but just their own family. So I think it's common within families. But we can also encourage that also at the community level, whereby I own a business, my friend, I bring in my friend, and we have that. But it's quite dicey. It boils down on trust. It boils down on so many things. Partnership is one of the hardest things to maintain in Nigeria. It's really quite. But it's interesting that we can still achieve it if we put our minds to it.
Great, and I think you should start early, because when you start early, then you get things right early. You are going to go through all the loopholes, all the challenges, face all the risks, and maybe you become perfect as you move on. Now, to our next. In Africa's journey towards sustainable economic development, one challenge keeps coming up. and that's management. Not just in business, but across governments, institutions, and development programs. Effective management of people, resources, policies, and enterprises determines whether ideas translate into growth and whether wealth is shared or wasted. Today, in part 2 of our program, we are reimagining management as a prerequisite for Africa's economic development, asking what new leadership strategy and organizational models Africa needs to unlock its true potential. Do not forget that we've heard issues that Nigeria's problem is not about policies or resources. It is leadership. Well, that problem is bigger than the way we picture it. Let's briefly go on a break. Part 2 of the program commences immediately we come back from this break because our guest is already standing by. This is Just Africa, and we're reaching you live from our studios at Souqnews Television. Do stay with us.
Welcome to the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC. ADSC is an organization focused on training and research to advance sustainable development and growth in Africa. We exist to facilitate customized training, research, and study exchanges worldwide on leadership, management, and critical development issues. The center offers a platform for the exchange of ideas and best practices. Our comprehensive services encompass research, consultancy, capacity building, training, and education programs, as well as publishing and disseminating development-related knowledge. Our faculty consists of experts and researchers with extensive experience in policy formulation, implementation techniques, and monitoring and evaluation. Our methodology involves talks, individual and group exercises, games, video screenings, and discussion seminar sessions in a cozy atmosphere, making learning enjoyable for our participants. For more information, email us at info@adstudiecenter.com or call +234 912 039 2362. Visit our website at www.adstudiecenter.com to learn more about our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
Welcome back. It's Just Africa, and we are reaching you live from our studios at Souqnews Television. Now we're talking about reimagining management, or better put, leadership. Now, this topic or the story focuses on critical role of management practice in driving Africa's growth. While the continent has abundant natural resources, a youthful workforce, and rising innovation, weak management seems to be one of the bottlenecks or challenges in governance, enterprises, and even in international partnership. Now, often prevent these assets from turning into broad-based prosperity. Reimagining management means restructuring how African states, firms, and organizations plan, implement, monitor, and lead development, moving from outdated hierarchical system to adaptive, innovative, and inclusive approach. Olumide, before I introduce our guest.
Yes. Now, one of the key ingredients of building sustaining wealth, business, policy is management. What is management? Planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Basically, getting things done. And that is what, when people talk about, that's why when people talk about Nigeria, they say it's not corruption or any other thing, it's just management or mismanagement. So management is that thing that is created, or a CEO has to get it right, so that he can focus on other things. So the management takes care of every other thing. Now, we've seen so many companies, we've seen big names, popular names, who were big names back then, and they are no more.
Gone into extinction.
Gone into extinction because of mismanagement. So management, which shows you or tells you that management is key. Being able to plan, execute, and get things done at the right time. I think every company, every entrepreneur needs it, but sometimes our entrepreneurs feel the CEO is also the manager, he's the management, he's everything. So it's quite a whole lot.
Yes, it is. Now, we have our guest. His name is Jules Nate Tokoli. He's a Ghanaian-American business strategist, a thought leader, and founder of Groupie Soleil Vision, a strategy and leadership advisory firm dedicated to transforming African enterprises and institutions. With a career spanning the US and Africa, Jules has advised organizations on business development, management, innovation, and leadership transformation. He is known for championing cross-continental knowledge exchange, helping African businesses adopt global best practices while remaining rooted in local realities, passionate about entrepreneurship, governance, reform, and human capital development. Jules Nate Tokoli is at the forefront of conversation on how reimagined management can unlock Africa's economic future. Jules Nate Tokoli, you are welcome to Just Africa. Many thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, and thank you to your host, your listeners. Good morning or good afternoon to all of you, and respect to Nigeria.
To Nigeria, respect to Ghana, and respect to Africa. Now, the word management sometimes can sound very, very ambiguous. Even to CEOs, or most especially those who participate in the informal sector, or the informal, and they have been, by way of their business activities, business engagement, and running around, they don't know they're already carrying out the act of management. So probably maybe you could demystify some people who are miss about this word if you actually apply to what exactly they do.
Yeah, thank you for that question, and it's a very insightful question. Really, if you go to the streets of Ghana and ask anybody, how are you doing? They'll tell you, I'm managing. So this tells us one thing, that management happens even at the micro level, that is at the individual level. As when you wake up this morning, you have a lot of options ahead of you, what to do, how to apportion your time. The limited money that you have, how to use it, who to interact with, and for what purpose. So at that micro level, you are managing your time, you are managing your resources, and you are making decisions and deciding how to organize to make what you intend to achieve at the end of the day happen. So really, management is really not something that is so grandiose. It's something that we practice daily. And when we go to the organizational level, then it kind of becomes mystified as something that is beyond anybody. This has come about because people have viewed management, and management itself has portrayed itself as the all-knowing and the one having all the authority. And really, that has been so because in time past, information or knowledge was very limited, and so the rich, the business tycoon, They seem to be the repository of knowledge and information. But that was in the industrial age. Today, things have changed. We are living in the information age. And with Web 3.0 now being rolled out, we know that we are living in a very different world where management should not be limited to just a few, but it should extend to include everyone in the organization, from the receptionist, from even the cleaner, all the way up. Everyone should have a say in management.
All right, thank you very much. So I'd like to ask, in your opinion, how much of Africa's economic struggle is linked not to lack of resources, but to poor management of what they already have?
I really love your use of not lack of resources, because it is also what I believe, that the kind of economics that we study in school, that tells us that the problem of economics is scarcity. It's something that was born out of Europe, Adam Smithian kind of economic theory. And that was the reason why the um, the Europeans had to travel to other continents to dominate them in order to extract their resources to build their civilization. Whereas in Africa, that is not a problem. We have abundant resources, natural, human, name them. We have them all. So the problem is not scarcity. The problem that we should be looking at is to reimagine the way we do economics, or we understand economics, and the way we manage the resources that we have, so that we should transcend beyond just exploitative, um, you know, extractive kind of economics, and polluting the environment, destroying families in the name of GDP, and commodifying the customer. We have to move away from that and rather refashion our own kind of management. This is not to it's not to like demonize the Western style of management of economics, not at all. There are principles that we can learn from there and merge them with our own innate quality, our own DNA as Africans, in order to see how well we can utilize these resources. So, from the African perspective, the problem of economics is not scarcity. The problem of economics is sustainability. So, how can we apply common sense to the way we extract our natural resources? How can we make use of our resources in a such that in a way that we harness them, we leverage them for a little resource to spread, to spread and what do I put it, to to bring about greater results. What I mean, in other words, use a little to achieve more. These are the things we have to look at in order to improve in our economics. Now, when you look at the kind of management that we have also borrowed from the West, their form of management, and of course, for their exigencies, that's all right for them. But their form of management places the what you call it, the shareholder as the most important stakeholder in management. Now, the problem is that when you do that, and you are pursuing the shareholder value maximization motive, you then do not give regard to nature, for example, because all you care about is the bottom line, the GDP, the balance sheets, stuff like that. So you are only thinking about building infrastructure for the purpose of extracting from the environment in order to make the shareholder richer. And in the process, you hurt the environment that makes it possible for human existence. Now look at how much you are grappling with pollution. And when we talk about pollution, people think it's a political decision. No, pollution is a boardroom decision. It's a boardroom activity. So it takes management to take into consideration in their strategy what the business model how the business model is going to affect the environment. What impact is it going to have on the environment? So if it's going to, there is no way that the effect of the business model on the environment can be mitigated, then throw it away. So that is why I came up with the value pyramid of management, which lists the stakeholders of management according to their relative importance. But the apex of the pyramid is nature. Because like I said before, we can't exist without nature. After nature, then we have the next most important stakeholder, which is society, because it is society that makes the running of business even possible. Then after society, we have human resources. Then we have the customer. Along that line, we can also add the supplier and the creditor. And at next to that, we have management. And at the bottom, that is where we have the shareholder.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nate. If you can hear me, Chokoli.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. But please permit me to be a little bit adversarial when you made references to the Western style of management. Now, please do not forget, currently as we speak, you're in the United States of America. And when you take a very good look around and you want to make comparison between America, Ghana, and Nigeria with regards to the environment and with regards to social welfare and how the government in that clime is managed to manage the resources of that clime in meeting the social welfare and the well-being of the people in that society, you begin to draw differences on where Africa is really not performing up to expectation. It looks like their own management styles seem to be producing results than the way Africans manage over here. What's lacking? Why aren't we producing that sort of result that can place our continent, even though we have the abundant resources, at par with other climes?
Thank you very much. Yes, you're not being adversarial, you're just being objective. Yes, and that is very important. But like I said before, I don't intend to demonize the Western style of management and economics. What I mean to say is that it worked for them. But that doesn't mean that we should import what worked for them wholesale for us. We can learn from their strengths and weaknesses and then but we also need to really understand the African way of thinking. And let me put it this way: our educational system, through which we borrowed or we inherited from colonialism, has made us dysfunctional. What I mean is this: what happens when you decide to install an iOS software? Okay, that is operating system, on a Windows machine. They'll conflict. Or you try to install a software that was designed for Windows on your iPhone. It won't work. Similarly, we as Africans had our way of thinking and doing things. Unfortunately, colonialism has uprooted us from our roots. So we don't we don't even know what our nature is to begin with. We are conflicted. As I'm sitting here, I am. It's like I'm trying to purge myself. Like what Bob Marley puts it: emancipate yourself from mental slavery. It's something I am working on. He said, none but ourselves can free our minds. And it's a lifelong process. So until we come out of that to know our true nature, we will not be able to design the kind of management and economic structure that inures to our very peculiar situation. So, but having said that, even if you come to the West, you see very beautiful streets, you see very beautiful landscapes, and you see the economy running. But let me ask you, my brother, um, have you seen the beautiful rivers that you see running in the cities? For example, here in New York, we have this very popular river called the Hudson River. That river is polluted. You cannot drink the water. You cannot eat the fish that comes out of it. And there are many water bodies here in New York that are like that. You have to go upstate in order to find clean water. This is all because of industrialization that did not take the environment into consideration. So they were pumping mercury and all kinds of substances into the water. So you see the water and it's moving. It looks bluish, but it's deadly. That is just one example. When you come to the society itself, because of the way the economy is structured, everyone for himself, God for us all. So today, in spite of all the advances in medicine, in transportation, technology, and even in wealth, the World Health Organization has declared loneliness as a pandemic, as a disease in Western countries. These, for the sake of our time, these are just two of the issues that I can bring to bear to see that it's not all that glitters that is gold. And what we see in the West is just the screensaver. Until you go there and dig in to see what is behind the screensaver, you could easily be deceived and think that this is the archetype of development. And then you end up destroying society, you end up destroying the environment, you end up destroying human relationships.
All right. So I'd like to ask you, in submission or in furthermore to this your submission, what style of management do you think we can adapt here in Africa, in Nigeria, the private sector and the public sector? We have different management style: autocratic, democratic, which is practiced in Nigeria. We have the hands-off, we have the transactional and transformational. So what style of management is best suited for Africa?
Yes, I think I would put what I may be wrong, but those that you've described, I will put them under leadership styles. But when it comes to management, like I already mentioned, I have already proposed the value management, a value pyramid for management that should form the basis for management. What to prioritize as you strategize. All right, and then uh, based off of that, you can now craft the leadership style. Now we are talking about empathetic leadership that is not aloof from the rest. You see, um, again, the industrial age, when you would go to a huge company and in the reception you see the imposing picture of the managing director, with all the aura, and you still have in some companies today in Africa, with this top management posture, who are all knowing. No, information has now been democratized. In the neoliberal world that we live now, information and knowledge is no longer the repository of management. So, what we should be doing now, when I talk about empathetic leadership, I would like to refer to who the generation that we refer to as Gen Z. You notice that a lot of people have so many criticisms against Gen Z. They are lazy, they don't want to work, they want things to happen for them quickly, they just want to grab and go, they feel entitled, and what have you. But hey, it didn't happen out of vacuum. The Gen Z is the combination of all the desires and aspirations of and actions and inactions of the previous generations that has come to stay with us today. So what we need to work with Gen Z employees, for example, as a leader in management, as a leader in government, is empathy. Empathy means putting yourself in the shoes of the other person. So get to understand them, get to speak with them, understand their language, understand their way of thinking. Because hey, in about 10 years' time or less, these are the ones that will be at the helm of affairs. So if you don't understand them in order to guide them empathetically, then what future are you laying for them? So we have to take this very seriously. And that is why the value pyramid of management has placed society as the next most important stakeholder in management, apart from second only to nature. So it is important that empathetically we understand how this generation and the alpha generation that is coming after them, the world we created for them, they didn't make it, we created it for them. We must take responsibility first. In fact, management means taking responsibility. So we must, first of all, admit that we are responsible for the way they think and they act. But if we don't empathize with them in order to guide them, then all that we created for them, all the previous generations, all that they put in place in order to bring about the current exigencies, we will only destroy their future.
Thank you very much. Now, Jules Nate, it's obvious that we've made lots of mistakes as a continent, and the Chinese have a saying that I've equally said time and time again, that the best time to plant trees was like 100 years ago, but the second best time to plant those trees is today. So how do we begin to correct these anomalies? How can we begin to purge ourselves as a continent from the inefficient and retrogressive styles of management to adopting a new management style like the one you mentioned, in order for us to move towards productivity and harness the skills and potentials that we have as a continent for economic prosperity?
Thank you. First of all, we need to acknowledge and accept that in our mind, we have the wrong software installed. So that is why we have to unlearn the past. We have to, even when you come out of school, all of us went through school. The school that we went through has programmed us in a way. Let me give you this example. Doesn't the Bible say that God made man in his image? And God is a generalist. That is why he was able to create a variety of things. So we as humans are also generalists. God made us to be able to create a variety of things. But education puts us in a straitjacket that either you pass your exam or you are useless. The fact that I did not pass my mathematics doesn't mean that I'm not logical in the way I think. Another thing is this: education has taught us to specialize instead of being generalists. So we thought that this is you pick one route and just study that route and understand it and stick to that. So that when something goes wrong, you no longer are able to see your way out. So first of all, we must acknowledge that our minds, our way of thinking is dysfunctional. And start, like I said, in Ghana, there is a word called Sankofa. Sankofa means go back to your roots. Matter of fact, just yesterday, there was a street in Canada, I think in Toronto or so, that was renamed Sankofa, meaning that you should go back to your roots, learn your mistakes, learn your good days, and then use that to fashion your future. And that is what we have to be doing as Africans today. We have to go back to our roots. Colonialism has destroyed our history. So a lot of us don't know who we were before the sojourn of the European on our continent. We only think of ourselves in terms of slaves and witches and wizards. That's all we think of ourselves. We do not remember the great civilizations that we built before. We do not remember that the first university was on the African continent. We do not remember the pyramids that we built. We do not remember the Nubian culture. Matter of fact, one of my businesses is deliberately, intentionally called NubianBiz.com, which is a digital platform for African businesses to trade among themselves and also share knowledge and information. We have books that have been written that by one BBC presenter. She has a series of videos on YouTube. Her first name is Zainab. So I've forgotten the last name. But I have one of her books. She just published a book. I have it right behind me. I just can't reach it right now. Those are the kind of books that trace our history from way back. And again, Ziggy Marley said, if you don't know your past, you don't know your future. So we need to know our past, to know who we were, and what our ancestors built before. Build that confidence in us. Again, Marcus Garvey said, without confidence, you have lost the race even before you started. So we need to know ourselves first, purge ourselves of all the negativities, and then go back to where we used to work together as a people, as a village. We used to work together and not compete against each other. Competition is another canker that we must take out of our management and our economics. Why is it, for example, that they say it takes a village to raise a child? And that statement, that proverb can only come out of Africa, because indigenously, as Africans, traditionally, if I was a child and I misbehaved in town, any elder in town who got me had the right to spank me. Today, we are adopting Western styles. Don't touch my child. Don't correct my child. And what do we see? We see politicians fighting each other on TV, insulting each other. We are killing each other for votes. Until we go back, Sankofa, and rebuild, we only continue on this trajectory of building on a faulty foundation for us. But thankfully, there is a new wind of change blowing over the continent. If we only listen, we'll see, we'll hear. And it only starts with one little fire. If I start it, if you start it, if someone else starts it, all of us together, let's just help one person to change the way they think. But first, let's change the way we think. We think for ourselves.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Jules Nate Tokoli, for your time with us on Just Africa today. Now, Jules Nate Tokoli is a Ghanaian American business strategist, thought leader, and founder of Groupie Soleil Vision. It's a strategy and leadership advisory firm dedicated to transforming African enterprises and institutions. With a career spanning the US and Africa, Jules has advised organizations on business development, management, innovation, and leadership transformation. Thank you so much for your time with us today. I really want to continue the conversation with you, but we're out of time. I hope you are going to oblige us your presence again next time when we extend the invitation.
Gladly, because we can't cover everything in just one conversation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jules. Many thanks for joining us on the program.
So much for having me, and I really appreciate your hospitality. Africans, let's come together and let's work together. We are all from one roots. And I'd like to end with one statement by a scholar called Gregory Agri in Ghana. who said that if you look at the keyboard, when you play just the white keys, you will get sound. If you play just the black keys, you will get sound, but you not get music, you not get melody unless you play both the white and black keys. So until we all come together, black, white, yellow, green, let's respect each other, let's work cooperatively, and we'll make a better world for ourselves and the future generation.
Thank you. Thank you for that, say. I like that. Yes, Olumide, quite an insightful conversation.
Yes, quite an interesting
And I'm looking forward to having him again on the program in Just Africa.
Yes, it was quite an interesting conversation, and he made reference a whole lot to the Western community. But I also liked what he said, that sometimes when we look at the Western community, we're just seeing the screensaver until you see what's behind that screen, you will see the reality. And he made reference to the lake there, and and how polluted it is. And so it tells you that they also have their own problems, just as we have their own problems too. But there are some key things we can emulate, some models we can emulate from them, and replicate here. Also, then he also talked about how to fine-tune that we are peculiar, so we have to fine-tune our own management style. We don't necessarily have to copy everything, hook, line, and sinker. Let's fine-tune our own management style so that it will benefit us and it will be just for us.
Great. Well, that's where we'll draw the curtain today on the program and Just Africa. Many thanks for watching. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at Souqnews TV. I'm Oyinpriye Krumale. Good afternoon to you.
And I am Olumide Shokoya. Enjoy the rest of your day.